I'll be watching, and we'll have it all for you tomorrow morning as well, all the highlights, Brian.
Yeah, the president's going to be in the building around 8:25, and around 4 o'clock he's going to do an event for donors. So how relaxed is this guy? And he's doing events nonstop. Well, Joe Biden has taken, well, he worked Sunday, took Saturday off, has taken off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, did some local interviews, doesn't answer many questions. Meanwhile, let's go to a Fox News alert. U.S. intelligence officials warning Iran and Russia about trying to meddle in our election. They're doing it already.
Sounds like a director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, told us last night Iran is behind fake emails intimidating voters as Russia has gotten their hands on U.S. voter information like they did back in 2016. The FBI director is assuring Americans their vote will be secure.
You should be confident that your vote counts. The men and women of the FBI remain committed to protecting the American people, our democracy, and the integrity of our elections. We are not going to let our guard down.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has denied any involvement. Let's bring in Ohio GOP Congressman Jim Jordan, ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good morning. So what do you make of all of this?
Well, I think it's interesting that, Iran is it's probably no accident that Iran's trying to help Joe Biden, the same Obama-Biden administration that gave him a bunch of money. I think the real story here, too, is the Never Trumpers Lincoln Project is using that information to go after the president, using this disinformation. And frankly, I thought about this morning. This is not the first time that the people have used disinformation to go after the president. Because remember, during impeachment, Fiona Hill testified and said the dossier was Russian disinformation and that the people who used that got played by the Russians there. So that's the part that really gets me. The idea that the Never Trump or Lincoln Project is using this information to go after the president is just as wrong as it gets. But it shouldn't surprise us, frankly, that they want Joe Biden to win. After all, he gave him a bunch of cash.
Yeah, a bunch of Republican rejects trying to find their place in the world. Adam Schiff heard this and took this shot, playing politics in his very respectable position. Listen.
As far as Director Ratcliffe's statement, the two examples that he gave of Iranian interference, the mailing of these emails purportedly from the Proud Boys to Democratic voters, appear to be an effort to suppress the Democratic vote, or an effort to inflame the Democratic vote, or simply to sow chaos. It's hard to see how that could be hurtful to the president. So we don't know whether this is just Ratcliffe's spin or whether it's the assessment of the analysts. Sadly, for the American people is they can rely on what they hear from the FBI director. They cannot rely on what they hear from the director of national intelligence without proof on the table.
I love the way he plays pretend as if he wasn't briefed. He knows exactly what it all means and what the intent was and what the analysts say.
John Ratcliffe is a good man doing a great job for this country. Adam Schiff should not be questioning anyone's trustworthiness when he was the guy who told us that he had no contact with the whistleblower, and we know for a fact that his staff met with the whistleblower. So the idea that he's now going to be the guy who can talk about credibility, you got to be kidding me. We lived through 3 years of Adam Schiff going on TV every night and saying that there is more than circumstantial evidence that the president colluded with Russia, when in fact we know he did it. And we now know, based on John Brennan's notes, that it was all conjured up by Hillary Clinton. And we know because Rick Grinnell released the transcripts that these folks, these same 50 people who went after this laptop issue this past week, these same 50 people had no evidence, no credibility, no predicate for opening the Trump-Russia investigation when they did. And now he's lecturing us about John Ratcliffe, who's doing a good job. That should tick every American off and persuade them to go vote for President Trump even more. That really makes me mad to hear Adam Schiff say that.
All right. Jim, sit there for just a second. We're going to talk a little bit about politics because tonight, of course, the big debate. Griff Jenkins is live in Nashville with the preview. Griff.
Hey, Steve Ainsley and Brian, good morning to you. And you know, the congressman's talking about Americans being upset. I have to wonder whether or not this comes up in the debate. Now, it's not on the topic list, but this breaking news with the intelligence certainly, I think, has to come up. We'll have to find out. We'll also see these unprecedented changes, the mute button, as it will, but it's not an at-will mute button. It's going to be a change, a rule change. Let me explain how it's going to work. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer a debate moderator question uninterrupted. Each of them get that opportunity. That's how it will happen, and it'll be that way for all 6 of the 15-minute segments. When they're not in the 2-minute period, they'll have open discussion. Both mics will be open. Now, the muting will be done not by moderator Kristen Welker, but by an audio technician. Both campaigns had the option to put someone in the audio booth with the technician. So far, only the Trump campaign plans to put someone in there during the debate. The president weighed in when he was departing for a rally on the changes. Listen.
I think the mute is very unfair, and I think it's very bad that they're not talking about foreign affairs. They're supposed to be talking about foreign affairs.
Then later at that rally in North Carolina, he hammered his opponent tonight.
If Biden wins, the flag-burning demonstrators on the street will be running your federal government. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. Our country will never be a socialist country.
Meanwhile, as you guys mentioned, Biden off the campaign trail, leaving the hard work again to his running mate, Kamala Harris, and former President Obama, who delivered perhaps his harshest rebuke yet of President Trump. Listen here.
We literally left this White House a pandemic playbook. We don't know where that playbook went. 8 months into this pandemic, cases are rising again across this country. Donald Trump isn't suddenly going to protect all of us. He can't even take the basic steps to protect himself.
Now, this comes as Fox News' latest polls in the battleground states show Biden leading in 3 states, up 12 in Michigan, 5 in Pennsylvania, 5 in Wisconsin, while Trump has a slight lead in Ohio, ahead by 3. Tune in tonight, guys. It all kicks off at 6 p.m. with Brett and Martha as we all get ready to see exactly what happens with just 12 days to go. Brian, Ainsley, Steve.
All right, Griff, thank you very much. Let's bring back in Jim Jordan. He'll be over where Griff just was a second ago. So, just like I said. So, Jim, do you think that
yes,
the former vice president will be asked about Hunter and things like that? The cover of the New York Post this morning has a story about a statement from Hunter Biden's business partner who essentially confirms that the emails are legit, according to their headline.
Yeah, we now know beyond a shadow of doubt the laptop is in fact Hunter Biden's. The emails are in fact accurate. The big guy referenced in one of the emails is in fact Joe Biden. We know Hunter Biden had deals with communist China, Ukraine, deals with this company Burisma that even the State Department said was a concern, and he was getting cash from the mayor of Moscow's wife. So all that, of course, this should come up. But what I also hope really comes up is the president stresses what he did for the American people. The fact that he said he would cut taxes and did, said he would reduce regulations and did, said we'd have a roaring economy and we did, said he'd get out of the Iran deal and we did, said he would put the embassy in Jerusalem and he did, said he would build the wall and he did, said he would do a new USMCA, a new NAFTA agreement and he did, said he would put out a list and choose from that list to put on the highest court in our country, and he picked from that list Mr. Gorsuch, Mr. Kavanaugh. They're on the court, put out another list, selected from that list Amy Coney Barrett, and she's going on the court in a matter of days. No president has done more of what they said they would do than this guy. That should come out tonight loudly and clearly, and the American people understand that. And, of course, this Hunter Biden issue should come out because it goes to the credibility of Joe Biden, to the heart of this campaign. And the fact that you have tech giants, tech companies censoring this information is ridiculous, as we're just 12 days before this important election.
Well, Hunter Biden, in one of the purported emails on May 13th, 2017, allegedly talked about 10 held by H. We don't know what that means. Maybe, you know, they're different. Maybe 10 million held by H. Who's H?
Hunter.
JB. Who's the big guy he writes about? So his business partner, Tony Bobulinski, Steve was talking about this earlier. This is the statement he just released. What I am outlining is fact. I know it is fact because I lived it. I am the CEO of Sinahawk Holdings, which was a partnership between the Chinese operating through CEFC Chairman Yi and the Biden family. I was brought into the company to be the CEO by James Giller and Hunter Biden. The reference to the big guy in the much publicized May 13th, 2017 email is in fact a reference to Joe Biden. The other, JB, referenced in the email is Jim Biden, Joe's brother. I've seen Vice President Biden saying he never talked to Hunter about his business. I've seen firsthand that that's not true because it wasn't just Hunter's business. They said that they were putting the Biden family name and its legacy on the line. Wow. What do you think?
No, we know the answers. This just further confirms what we already knew. The answers to those three fundamental questions. Is the laptop Hunter Biden's? Yes, we have the drop slip. We now have a guy who was a business partner who will testify to it. Are the emails accurate? Yes, the guy who was a business partner just told you that these emails are accurate. And, of course, the big guy reference is, in fact, to the former Vice President, Joe Biden. The media should ask Joe Biden those three questions. Ask him to answer those three questions. And then the more important question, why won't you say so? Why won't you answer those questions? But they won't do it. And frankly, over the last few days, they haven't had a chance to do it because he won't come out of the basement to even talk to the press.
On top of that, they go on. Bobulinski spent decades in the military. He said the reason why he came out is because he read the Johnson report, 97 pages, at which time it revealed that tens of millions of dollars were being passed to the Bidens, where he was using it as a piggy bank, Hunter. And he realized these guys were going behind my back, getting cash payments from Chinese officials. He says, I'm asking the Biden family to address the American people and outline the facts so he could go back to his life of being irrelevant. He says he looked behind the curtain and he's concerned what he saw. He says the aggressive way in which they leverage the family name to make millions is something, millions from China is something the American people must know about. Now, when the president brings this up, if he just says Hunter did this and they get into substance abuse, which we sadly so many of us can relate to, that's getting off the track. That's what happened last time. So the president's got to be prepared to do it and zero in on not on Hunter's business dealings,
no, on Joe,
but on how it relates to Joe Biden and how he might be compromised with China.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And frankly, the other big question, let's just be honest, is Twitter going to continue to censor the New York Post? Are they going to continue to block people from getting access to this information?
Yes.
12. So let's hope that Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg and these folks they are subpoenaed now by the United States Senate. They are brought in front of the committee and asked the tough questions. Why are you preventing the American people from getting access to critical information about a candidate for the highest office in our country, for the most important position in the world? Why are you preventing the American people from getting information about that just 12 days before this election?
Right. And they're going to bring up the fact that the president paid $177,000 in taxes and has an office there. He's an international business person who has not done business there. He buys things and makes golf courses. What does Hunter Biden do? The money's there, and you have to have an office to have business in China. Ivanka's patents, you need a patent to work in China or else they knock off everything you make. That's called international business, which they were doing before they got this job. Jim Jordan, great to see you. And you almost buttoned your button. I was surprised. No, I was not surprised, no jacket, but a little surprised you didn't button the top button today.
Okay, thanks, man. Take care.
All right. And if he went to law school, he probably would have been nominated for the Supreme Court. Bye, Jim Jordan.
All right.
All right.
All right. It is 7:14 here on the East Coast. Coming up, some in the media say the polls show President Trump has no chance in 12 days. But our next guest says, forget the polls. The crowds tell the real story.
President Trump is behind in the polls.
When you're as far down the polls as he appears to be nationally, polls continue to place Joe Biden's advantage at nearly 10 points.
Latest New York Times poll with Biden holding a 9-point lead.
There is absolutely no good news in the polls for Donald Trump.
Well, despite massive boat flotillas, car parades, and standing room only rallies, many in the media make it sound like there's no hope for President Trump to win re-election. But over the last 4 months, our next guest has traveled all across the country to speak to everyday Americans. And in his latest op-ed, he says, forget the polls, the silent majority is alive and well and growing. Political comedian Tim Young joins us right now. Tim, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, you wrote a great column yesterday in the Washington Times about why you don't believe the polls. And it all started at a barber shop not far from Minneapolis, right?
Yes, I was outside of Minneapolis, about 20 minutes out, getting my hair cut. And I just kind of talk to everyone around the country when I'm traveling about what they think about the polls, how COVID's affected them. And I asked if anyone had been given a poll, and the barber spoke up and said he and his wife had been called by pollsters, and they lied. And they said that they were voting for Joe Biden because just down the road there were a lot of riots, not just in Minneapolis, but in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and they were afraid not just for maybe being targeted by folks who are violent, but also people who would target their business for them being Trump supporters.
Yeah, so people who had been polled just flat out lied, even though they were going to vote for Trump because they didn't want to put themselves in danger, right?
Absolutely. And I've been hearing more and more from folks. I put that up on my Twitter, and also in that barbershop, some other people piped up and they were like, we did the same thing. And this seems to be a trend that's happening. When you see these organic boat flotillas that are going through and parades and everything, this just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened for any other candidate, and the polls don't add up. And that starts to make sense when folks are saying that they're lying to pollsters.
Also, you've been asking everybody, do you know somebody who voted for Trump in 2016 and are going to vote against him now? And what do they say?
No. Everyone says that the folks who voted, the folks who voted against him in 2016 are voting for him now. The folks who had voted for him in 2016 are voting again for him. He has unprecedented support. It's weird to say you believe one poll and not the other, but it's interesting when you see the polls that show overwhelming people saying that they have a better life than they had 4 years ago, that they believe in him and the economy, but somehow they're not going to vote for him. It doesn't add up.
So when people look at the polls, what should they think? We've been talking about the shy Trump voter, but this is a voter who simply flat out lies about it because they don't want the trouble.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe the polls at all. And also imagine folks who get phone calls from, say, like a CNN poll. Hey, we're calling from CNN. Most people in the middle of the country go click when that happens.
All right. So what is your prediction about what happens in 12 days?
I think we're going to see a crazy blowout for President Trump. I think we're going to see a lot of folks in the media cry a lot more, not on Fox News, obviously, but a lot of folks in the media cry a lot more than they did in 2016.
All right. Tim Young, author of I Hate Democrats, I Hate Republicans. It's a book. Tim, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Meanwhile, coming up, one Kansas University student says she was disciplined by her sorority after posting her conservative views on social media. She's going to join Ainsley. Coming up next.
Now, the illegal immigrant accused of killing a Houston police sergeant could face the death penalty. Elmer Manzano is charged with capital murder. He is due in court tomorrow. Sergeant Harold Preston was a 41-year veteran just weeks from retirement. Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo joined us in the last hour to remember his brother in blue.
We're going to celebrate the life of Sergeant Harold Preston, that not many other people will say his name, but we will. We'll say his name, we'll engrave his name, we'll celebrate his life.
Memorial services have not been announced. Overnight, out of control Colorado wildfires forcing hundreds of evacuations. The East Troublesome fire exploding by 5,000 acres in just one day northwest of Denver. The Cameron Peak fire spreading to more than 200,000 acres, making it the largest in state's history. Firefighters hope snow in the forecast will bring relief. American astronaut Chris Cassidy returns to Earth after 6 months on the International Space Station.
And you can see Soyuz has now touched down in Kazakhstan, and Chris Cassidy, Anatoly Ivanishin, and Ivan Bogner are home.
Cassidy and 2 Russian astronauts landed by parachute overnight in Kazakhstan. NASA says Cassidy conducted experiments and replaced batteries on the station. He's said to be in good health, expected to fly back to his home in Houston. How cool is that? Ainsley?
Thank you, Jillian. A University of Kansas student was put on probation by her sorority for, quote, unbecoming behavior after sharing conservative viewpoints and posts on social media, including one by Candace Owens that was critical of Black Lives Matter. The sorority telling the college student the disciplinary action was taken because of, quote, the argumentative communication, verbal or otherwise, with members as a result of your social media posts that disregard different opinions. Joining us now, that sorority member, University of Kansas student Catherine Lauer. Hey, Catherine, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, tell us what happened.
So I was contacted by our chief operating officer on October 5th, inviting me to a member development committee on allegations that I had made members feel uncomfortable and alarmed.
And then what happened next? What was were you punished?
So I was sent to this meeting, and in this meeting, I was targeted and asked to admit my white privilege, which is why I assumed that it was the Candace Owens tweet, but at this point, I have not been told what I have done exactly that has been wrong. I even reached out to the chief operating officer 3 times to gain clarity on my actions so I could make amends. And I still have not learned or been contacted about what exactly I did wrong. Following this meeting, I was placed on discretionary probation, and the terms of my probation included me taking a week off of social media to have a social media cleanse, and then I was also to watch a video chosen by the Diversity and Inclusion Committee to learn about America Today.
Okay, so they said that you were disregarding different opinions, but what about them disregarding your opinions?
Yes, and that's something that I, was a big reason that why I wanted to come on here and share my story. And I really want to thank you for reaching out to me and allowing me to do so.
Well, let me ask you this, Catherine. What do they do about people who are tweeting out anti-Trump messages?
Right. As of now, there has been no repercussions or reprimands for those people who have said anti-Trump things or hurtful things about Trump or people who support Trump.
Let me read the statement from the sorority. It says, Kappa Alpha Theta respects our members' rights to free speech by sharing various political and social viewpoints when they are expressed thoughtfully and respectfully. However, members will be held responsible in accordance with the Theta's member accountability process for any actions or comments that are derogatory or hateful in nature or that are counter to our efforts in building a supportive, diverse, and inclusive sisterhood. Are you, are you satisfied with that?
To me, I really did self-reflect on my social media after all of this came out. I printed out all of my posts, made sure that there was nothing alarming or that would make people truly feel uncomfortable. But I was silenced because of my conservative opinions, and I don't think that people should be censored because of that. And I really think that they need to make a change in this process and have a little bit more transparency regarding, telling members what actions they did wrong in order to truly understand the actions that they committed.
Catherine, are you going to stay in the sorority?
I'm planning on. I want to stay in the sorority. I think there's a lot to be said to the fact that people need to have their voices heard, and I want to make that conservative voice heard. I just really want a change in this member development committee system and the way that it's, performed and the way that they handle the situation.
Catherine, thank you so much. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Coming up, the Senate Judiciary Committee is set to vote on Judge Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court today, but Democrats are planning to boycott it. Senator John Kennedy is here to react to that. Coming up next.
Today.
Well, I think the mute is very unfair, and I think it's very bad that they're not talking about foreign affairs. They're supposed to be talking about foreign affairs. And I think that the anchor is a very biased person. Her parents are very biased, but that's my life.
Here we go. And that is the President of the United States yesterday with the chopper going, and he was set to go over to North Carolina. Let's bring in Louisiana GOP Senator John Kennedy, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's going to be busy this afternoon with the Supreme Court Justice nomination and a lot of empty seats. Most should have been occupied by Democrats. Now we'll have poster boards. But on what the president has to do tonight. There is a way for him to talk foreign affairs. And, man, is Joe Biden vulnerable. His first Secretary of Defense said he's been wrong about every foreign affair and national security issue over the past 40 years. Maybe that's why it's not on the list.
Well, Brian, if your question is, do I think the candidates should be encouraged to talk about foreign affairs, the answer rather is yeah. I mean, most Americans don't want to die. And there are dozens of countries, I can think of 4 especially, who want to try to kill us. And given that the first role of government is to protect people and property, I'd kind of like to know what the 2 candidates for President of the United States are going to do to protect us. I think going forward, the commission, or however we run these debates, need to give both candidates greater discretion in picking both the moderator and in picking the topics. Now, let me talk about the topics first. Right now, the moderator who is picked by the commission, has unfettered discretion.
Yep.
If the moderator wants to add one of the topics, who killed Jeffrey Epstein, he can do that. That makes no sense to me. And in terms of the moderator, I think both sides ought to have input. I'll probably start a Reddit fight with this, but I would like to have an old school moderator. I thought Chris Wallace was a good choice. And you know why? Because Chris, I say this gently, but he's an equal opportunity jerk. He wears both sides out. And that's what a good journalist is supposed to do. He's not supposed to pick sides.
Well, we wouldn't use that terminology, but he certainly is tough, fair and balanced and tough, indeed.
Well, that's another way of putting it.
Yeah, it is.
But that's what you want. You want a moderator who's not picking sides, who's going to really bear down. I mean, we're only picking the person who is going to run the most powerful country in all of human history.
Right.
You know, you want to see them under pressure, and you want a moderator who will put that kind of pressure on both of them, both in terms of tone and topic. You also don't want a moderator who wants to be the star of the show.
Well, there you go. All right, let's talk a little bit about your day. Later today, Amy Coney Barrett is supposed to be voted out of committee. But the Democrats are talking about boycotting. So if the Democrats don't show up, what happens with the boycott and quorum and all that other stuff?
Well, without breaching confidentiality, let me just say, and I say this with deep confidence, Judge Barrett's nomination is going to be reported favorably out of the Judiciary Committee today. And she deserves to be that vote. We all watched the hearings. She stuck the landing. As somebody said on a show the other day, they hit her with everything but a chair. She stuck the landing. And any fair-minded person who watched those hearings, who's read her legal writings, I have, she knows how to use a semicolon, who's talked to her students and colleagues, knows that she is splendidly qualified in terms of judicial philosophy, intellect, temperament, integrity. Now, you may disagree with her judicial philosophy, but she believes the role of a judge is to tell us what the law is, not what it ought to be. And I don't believe she's going to be the kind of Supreme Court justice who tries to rewrite the Constitution every other Thursday to satisfy some political agenda. And I think that's what most Americans want.
Well, Senator Chuck Schumer.
Did I call Chris Wallace a jerk? Can I take that back?
Yeah. you just mean he's tough, right, Senator?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Senator Chuck Schumer, he tweeted this out. He said, "I'm forcing a vote to adjourn the Senate until after the November election. We are not going to have business as usual here in the Senate while the Republicans try to use an illegitimate process to jam through a Supreme Court nominee." Are they able to do this? Is there a way that he could just say, tell all the Democrats, don't come, don't take a vote? What would happen then?
He could, but we're prepared, once again, without divulging any confidential discussions I've had, we're prepared for every eventuality. Look,
you know, arrows in your quiver?
Oh, yes. We've got knives, arrows, and he does too. And on the one hand, I mean, Senator Schumer's doing his job. On the other hand, and I say this gently as well, right now Chuck's kind of like a teenager. He's mad at everybody. We're going to confirm Judge Barrett, and Senator Schumer needs to fill out a hurt feelings report, and let's move on.
Right. I don't know if they have any of those forms down there.
We can make one up.
Okay, good. We'll see you this afternoon, and then it'll be a floor vote next week if everything goes well. Thanks, Senator.
Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, Jillian Milley is all set.
Good morning. Let's begin your headlines with this. Today, a deposition Ghislaine Maxwell gave in 2016 about her dealings with Jeffrey Epstein will be released. A federal judge denied her request to keep it private. It stems from a defamation lawsuit by a woman who claimed Epstein sexually abused her as a minor and that Maxwell was involved. It has since been settled. Maxwell is separately charged with helping Epstein recruit young girls. She has pleaded not guilty. Now take a look at this dramatic video showing firefighters rescuing a man trapped against the ocean cliff near the Golden Gate Bridge. Hikers called 911 after hearing the man yelling for help. How frightening is this? Despite massive waves crashing against the rocks, crews managed to pull the man onto a boat. He was taken to a hospital. His condition remains unclear. Wow. An Ohio sheriff offers to help celebrities move out of the U.S. if President Trump is reelected.
If there's any way that I can help, I'm not a rich person, but I would be willing to throw in $10. Maybe you can make a better life there in that country. This is the greatest country in the world to live, regardless of who the president is.
Well, the sheriff responding to celebrities like rock star Tommy Lee. He's promising to move to Europe if the president wins again. Bruce Springsteen making a similar vow, saying he'll be on the next plane to Australia. So we'll see.
I don't know if we said this. Do you know that there was pictures of Gronkowski and Tom Brady in the stands?
Oh, I don't know.
They ordered those things, the fake pictures that they sit in the back.
Oh, that's funny.
So that he was watching. They had great seats.
I wonder if they caught any of those home run balls.
I don't know if they did, but I know Gronkowski wouldn't drop it.
Did Gronk have a shirt on, and was he throwing beer out?
No, it was just his bust. It was his bust in a Bucs uniform.
All right. Thank you, Jillian. Coming up, we are going live to Nashville, where Tomi Lahren and John Rich are giving us a preview of tonight's big debate and their watch party on Fox Nation. But first, take a listen to
Joe Biden facing off in their final presidential debate in just a few hours. Fox Nation is there to help guide you through it with the debate watch party. It's hosted by Fox Nation professional watcher Tomi Lahren and another professional watcher, John Rich. Later, Pete Hegseth will join in the fun from Nashville. Guys, I'm excited for you about this format. Tommy, start us off. What is the pre-show going to be like in this party-like setting?
Well, we're going to set up our predictions for the debate, maybe think of some buzzwords for our drinking game later on that we can listen to and prepare for the debate. And then we're going to have a great old time. I hear some comedians might stop by, might have a Trump impersonator. You never know in Nashville, Music City, anything can happen, Brian.
So what's Broadway like, John Rich? This is your bar they're in right now, your restaurant, correct?
Yeah, we're actually sitting at Redneck Riviera down on Broadway right now. And I'll be honest, I've seen this bar this time of the morning, but not at the beginning of the day. So that's just a little inside fact. This is called the Heroes Bar right behind us. If you're a veteran or active duty or a first responder, we roll out the red carpet. We've got patches and coins from people all over the United States. So this is the perfect place where patriots come to gather and watch this debate tonight.
So you got the pregame, you're going to be watching during the game, and then you're going to have the postgame. Tommy, give me an idea of how you think this is going to go.
Well, I expect President Trump to call Biden to the carpet. And as I've been saying all week, this is Music City. It's time for Joe Biden to face the music. And we know that Donald Trump is going to hold him accountable. Whether the moderator will or not, that remains to be seen. But if I know one thing is that President Trump will get in what he needs to get in. They can mute his mic, but I don't think they can ever really mute the Donald.
Right. So you have climate change, COVID-19, American families, race, leadership, national security. How does the president get in what he was upset about with the Biden family and with Hunter's laptop? Does he fit that in, John Rich?
I'm guessing he will. I mean, I've heard people advise him, both directions on that. That's such a huge thing, I think, with the now knowing about the election interference that the FBI talked about last night. I mean, there's a lot of new subjects that I have no doubt will be brought up.
Tommy, how much does Broadway feel like Broadway, being that we're still in the coronavirus era, when you walk around?
Well, at 6 a.m., there's not a whole lot going on. But, we're still battling an 11 p.m. curfew here. So, and John and I have both been very vocal about our mayor, Mr. Wonderful John Cooper, and what he's doing to this town. So we're ready to bring the music back to Music City, and we're ready to go past 11 p.m. We can do it safe and responsibly. John can do it safe and responsibly. So, if Mayor Cooper's watching this morning, let's open up Music City.
And, John, it's been tough on you guys, hasn't it?
It has. We've lost so many bands, musicians, servers, bartenders, security people, all the people that make Broadway work, which Broadway is the main line of commerce for Nashville. Our mayor's been really, really hard on us. But, the music never dies, man. It lives on, and so will we.
Right. So, and Tommy, lastly, that is an issue. Who can relate better to this coronavirus era, the era of lockdown as opposed to open up, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And it's impacting, of course, Democrat-run cities more than a lot of Republican-run cities who want to be open for business, who know that they can trust the American people to be safe and responsible and operate their business and get back to work. A lot of people don't want to wait for their government stimulus check. They want to reopen their business. And we're hoping that happens across the country, maybe after the election. Here's to hoping.
And, John, lastly, Pete Hegseth's got to get some camera time. How do you plan on working him in?
Pete's going to be our bartender tonight. So Tommy and I are basically going to chill, talk about the election, have fun, and we're going to be Pete, another Redneck Riviera whiskey on the run.
Right. Okay. I don't think he knows that, or he wouldn't have agreed to your deal. John Rich, Tomi Lahren, thanks so much. It's going to be great. Watch Fox Nation's Debate Watch Party tonight, beginning at 8:30 Eastern Time. Use the promo code DEBATE and get a 30-day free trial of Fox Nation. And all three of them have great series on Fox Nation, which is the app you simply have to have. Thanks so much, guys.